Well. I would like to take the time out to welcome each and every one of you to the Confidence Igniter podcast. And I am your host this evening, and my name is Tamiko Green. Well, I am so excited that you are here tonight, whether you are tuning in for the first time or returning for another episode. I just want to say thank you again. Please do not forget to subscribe and to hit the like button so you can stay up to date and receive notifications when new episodes are released. Well, I am so excited about tonight's episode and the guest that's here tonight. Our episode today is titled An Attitude of Gratitude. I'm going to say that again, an attitude of gratitude. And I know this is the Confidence Igniter podcast, but we are talking about gratitude tonight. See, they say that confidence is power, but could it be that gratitude is the fuel that keeps the power alive? That's something to think about. Well, let me tell you, when I was a kid growing up, that's one of the things my parents would always say. Be grateful. Be grateful for what people do for you because nobody don't have to do anything for you. You know, being thankful and grateful goes a long ways. Whether you are a kid and somebody do something nice for you, just saying thank you. Whether you're an adult, someone does something nice for you, say thank you. Even though I sometimes think we live in an era in today's world where a lot of times people just assume that you have to do something nice for them. They assume that I'm entitled to whatever you're doing for me. And that's not so. People don't have to do anything for you. They choose to. It's the kindness of their heart. So tonight's show, like I said, I am so excited about it. So I don't want to take too much time, but I do want to bring on each one of my guests. Tonight, she is a returning guest, and her name is Caroline Cotton. Yes, she is from Griffith, Indiana. So I'm going to bring her to the stage and welcome her. Well, hello, Caroline.
Hello,
Welcome
how are
back.
you?
Welcome back.
Thank you for having me again.
Yes, I am so grateful. Now, I did say guest with an S. That means I have another guest that I am going to be bringing on to the show. And actually, it's all the way in Armenia, Colombia. I believe they call that the coffee country. And her name is Cynthia Young. Please help me with welcoming Cynthia to the Confidence Igniter podcast. Yes, ladies. I am so grateful that you are here with me this evening. How are you all doing?
I
I'm
am,
fine.
I am doing quite well, quite well.
Well, I am grateful for the both of you being here tonight. And thank you for, just saying yes to the show. Thank you. Well, Cynthia, since you are here for the very first time, I would like to start with you. Can you just tell the viewers just a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Um, I am a mother of 4 adults, married for 53 years. Um, I am doing a website at this time for myself. Uh, I'm just like so thrilled to be here. So just allow me to calm down a little bit. And the real thing about myself is I'm just thinking about how grateful I am about being here and just being a part of this world. It's just really cool.
All right, all right. Well, thank you. 52 years of marriage. Wow, I know there was a lot of being grateful going on there. If you've been making 52 years in a marriage, I know you had some challenges, but I'm sure you like, I am so grateful for whatever. But I am so grateful for having you here. and Caroline. I think we kind of lost Cynthia. I think we lost your camera. I see you on one side. There we go again. And Caroline.
Yeah.
I know that we had you here before, but if you just want to tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am Caroline. I am a mother of 5 adults and 5 beautiful grandchildren whom I truly adore. Um, I am a therapist, and I have been a therapist for 2.5 years, but I've worked in the social services for almost 10 plus years. So I am humbly grateful to be here today and just grateful to really be in the position that God has placed me in. So I have there an awful lot to which to be grateful for.
Well, all right, all right. Thank you. Well, let's just go ahead and get this grateful party started. Yes, today we are talking about an attitude of gratitude if you're just tuning in with us. And I would like to start off by asking you, Cynthia,
Mhm.
how has having an attitude of gratitude enhanced your life?
In so many ways, so many ways. I used to live in Illinois, and living in Illinois was like beautiful, but I had started running into some complications with my life because I had a business at one time, and this at the point in time when all the mortgages were actually, or at least the banks were just going up in smoke. And what I mean by that, they began to close, and this was back in 2007, 2008, all the way through 2013. And I couldn't get loans closed or anything of this nature. I was so worried. And then God met me one night in a dream and let me know to not to worry about anything, and that he would guide me. So he started me out doing a lot of Christmas decorating through this whole time. Every year, he gave me a different theme. And it was that brought me through. It was like, in fact, I would wake up just feeling really, really good because I just felt like, you know what? God made me. I'm in his world. There's nothing I can do but just rely on him. He brought me through. And later on, I had gotten another job. I had to get a job because I had owned that company, but I had to give it up because I couldn't get any business, couldn't get any loans closed, nothing. But afterwards, he allowed me to get a job, calm down my mind so that I can afford life again. And eventually I quit that job and moved to Colombia. So I got to say, life ended up being really, really sweet after I started relying on God. It wasn't my world. It was something obviously he wanted me to learn. And I learned that lesson. That means that I had to just take my time and let God do what he had to do and teach me how to be humble and grateful for each moment that I had. And here I am in Colombia and really, really happy.
All right. I love it. I love it. Yeah, back during the mortgage industry, yeah, that was a challenging time. And so that showing that gratitude and that trust, and like you said, it was that a moment where, you had that little worry, but then, God showed up and say, hey, like, don't worry, because that doesn't change our situations. It actually makes them worse. But he stepped in, and look at you all the way in Colombia. You crossed the water. A lot of times when people say Colombia, they think South Carolina. No, 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 South Carolina here. They ain't got nothing to do with that. We talking about the coffee country.
There you
So,
go.
so yes, Saint Caroline. I would like to ask you the same question. How has being grateful enhanced your life?
Well, God has, well, for one, being grateful. I haven't always lived in Indiana. I have lived in Illinois for most of my life, but what really God has really shown me so much and brought me such a long way that I am humbly grateful. The fact that just thinking about the things that I've even had to endure um, in my life in Illinois, there were times in my life where I would have faced so many challenges, and even having to raise 5 children by myself as a single parent. That wasn't always easy. And just being able to rely on God to bring me through that, I'll never forget a many of crying days, but a many a days in which he kept that smile on my face. And the fact that being here today in Indiana, now in my own place and watching my children do their own thing, let me know that God has really brought me a long way. And just the fact that, my relying on him, um, and I, and just before even getting to this point, but during the time when we would be just before going through the pandemic, especially 2020, 2021, God only knows, those were the most challenging years for me. But I can honestly say God kept me humble. He never let me forget. And there was one scripture in the book of Philippians that I always held strong to, that, so long as I trusted him and believed in him, that all things were made possible. And I held on to that. I continued to persevere. And even in that, it led me to the point where I wanted to, in my life, learn how to get closer to God, because there were many things in my life that, you know, I didn't understand. They were challenging, and times when I had to really, say with myself, amen, God, I'm going to trust you no matter what. I'm going to, you know, allow you to, remain in the driver's seat, because my mother used to always say to me, you know, as a child growing up, they used to call me Dimp, short for Dimples. And she would always say, if you're gonna trust God, you have to let him get in the driver's seat and you in the back seat. But if you're gonna take the wheel, then you might as well not trust him. And it was at that moment that I had to learn how to be still. And during that time in my life, especially through 21 to 22, because it was the hardest, that was a time that things were hitting me left and right. And all I could say was, God, I don't know what am I doing wrong? Or show me what I need to do right. Just order my steps, guide me. But at that moment, as things began to get better, that's when I realized he opened my eyes to help me to realize that, hey, everything that I do, I'm the reason for every season in your life. So no matter what you go through, you're going through it for a reason. And at that moment, I realized that for each and every day that he's gave me, and each and every day that I'm able to wake up and be able to have another day to just thank him for that day, I have every single reason in which to be grateful. So that is my reason, my attitude for my gratitude,
All
because
right.
of knowing what God has just brought me through. And when I look at my life, I feel like my own life within myself is my own testimony for someone else, on whom I can help somebody else through my life or my testimony or the things that I've been through in my life.
All right. I like that. I like that. I like that. When I hear both of you ladies say this, say the same thing, that God is your superhero. I mean, that's what I hear. And, and I can understand, where you're coming from, because I always tell people life has not always been easy for me as well. I can remember back in a time where I lived in Augusta, Georgia, and me, I wake up, I was married to my first husband at the time, and we had our son in Augusta, Georgia. He was in the military, and I woke up. I looked in the kitchen to cook. So I'm like, "What am we cook for dinner tonight?" And I looked in the cupboards. There was one can of green beans, and I got a baby, myself and my husband, and one hamburger. Now, if that's not, what is that? Two fish and five loaves. So look in the refrigerator. I'm like, okay, I got this one can of green beans and this one hamburger. And that didn't really taste like hamburger, let me tell you. Yeah. And so it was on a Sunday when I, the day I'm looking to, and I'm like, I had this mentality at home, like I'm going down to the church, and if I can't get no help from the church, what can I get some help from? So I'm going down to the church, and I'm going to no food. So, but the food part was I got all the way to the church and I became a quiet mice. And it was so funny because like I was so afraid to ask for help. But here goes God. God is like, okay, I know you're afraid. So what I'm gonna do is have the pastor to ask anybody that needs a prayer, to have a prayer, prayed over them to come up. I went up, told them, he said, whisper in my ear, what's your problem? I said, look, we ain't got no food. I got one hamburger and one can of green beans. There's three of us. I don't know how this is going to work. My husband don't get paid for 2 whole weeks. And he was like, don't worry about it. We're going to take it to the altar. And everybody, after he got through taking everybody's prayer to the altar, I left out of the church feeling like I had a whole trunk of groceries in there. He had a but as I'm about to get in the car, I see this little lady come running out. Sister Harvey, because at the time my last name was Harvey. Sister Harvey. She comes, she runs out. She said, hey, the pastor want to see you. And he was really nice. He wrote a check for me. And then I looked at him. I said, you know what? My husband get paid in 2 weeks. I'll pay it back at that point. He said, well, it's going to be a problem with that payback. And I was like, why? I mean, I'll give it back. And he goes, well, if you can figure out where God lives, you send that check right on to him because this ain't none of my money. This God's money. So I understand when y'all talk about, God, he's just there. And that, I believe that's a part of the gratitude. So Caroline, I have a question for you. So what would you say to someone that is going through? And you know how some people, they don't want you to tell them about the Bible when they're going through, what would you tell them when it comes to being grateful? Or what kind of advice would you give to them?
For me, the advice that I would give someone, and especially taking into consideration that everybody is not where I'm at and how I think, just being able to encourage them by letting them know that everything doesn't always mean that it's the end of everything, because it doesn't happen when we want it to at that particular time. But all things is possible, even let them know that if it's something that they're going through, just to just hold on. Trust the process. Trust that no matter whatever it is you're going through, it's for a reason. But everything that happens doesn't mean that it's something to take you down or to bring you down. It may be that it's sometimes it's also the opposite, to something to build you up. And
I like that.
Just using myself as an example, I would let them know that, seeing myself and just even, sharing a part of my life, especially when during the time that when my kids was little, at the time I wasn't going through a divorce, but I was married and separated. And sharing the story and letting them know that there was a point in my life where it's the only thing that we had was nothing but some rice and some corn. And taking that rice and corn, making a meal, but it was enough for my children, and made it last. But even though at that time, things might have seemed very complicated at that time, and it seemed like it was just, I didn't have a way out of no way. It just let me know that seeing my kids being fed and knowing that their bellies were filled, that there's all things is possible, that I was able to take that little bit and make a lot, make a full meal out of just that little bit of what I had.
I like that.
Know that, hey, any and everything is possible. You just have
to that's right.
Believe that whatever it is that you're going through, it wasn't to break you, it's to make you.
I
and
like that.
trust that, and knowing that you can get through anything, but you just have to believe that you can.
And I think that's key is believing. And Cynthia,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you the same question. You look a little busy over there, girl. You can't sit. You. Hey, you. Do you not
No,
know what
no,
a nice thing, what a thing in there? Nah,
no,
come on.
I'm trying to save my phone because I'm like running down to like 14 little things.
Okay, so let me ask you this question because we're not going to be here much longer. I'm going to ask you what kind of advice would you give someone when it comes down to being grateful, like having that attitude of gratitude when you're going through. I mean, I know a lot of times. I'll let you take it from there. Go ahead.
I know for me, after I had that dream talking with God and he showed me some things I can do at Christmas time, I realized that you got to stay busy. For me, I would tell someone, get involved into some things. Like if you love to sew, sew. If you love to write, write. But I also had formed an affirmation, which was, be still and know that I am God. For whatever it is that you want or desire, I will make sure that you receive it. And I made a song of that. I mean, I was saying this to myself and it worked. It brought me through so much. And from that point on, it just seemed like things started getting better and better. I mean, when I got through decorating and using my affirmation on a daily basis and sometimes 2, 3 times a day, it pulled me through. So I would tell someone, if you can project yourself from the moment where you're at into another position of where you want to be, see yourself, because that was the purpose of that affirmation. It's just see yourself where you want to be. So if you feel that you need to be in a new place or a new job, just constantly see it, just visualize yourself and keep saying your affirmation, because the affirmation that you feel comfortable with, even if it means go to the Bible, find a scripture in the Bible and make it yours. Just say whatever your name is. Say, you know what, Sally? God said, be still. Know that whatever it is that you need or want, I will give it to you. And you got to just see if it's a job, see that perfect job that will make you feel good. And also, just once you start doing it, just believe that it works, because God didn't meet me in my dream just to meet me in my dream. He met me in my dream to let me know, I'm going to take care of you. Just have faith in me. And that's the one thing I would share with people.
All right, I like that having faith, and that's true. I always say when you think of a aircraft. When you and it's in a hangar, and once everybody board, it backs out, and then it heads to the runway. And to me, was soon having that attitude of gratitude. When you have that type of attitude, you might be on the runway for now, but eventually you take off. Because I've never seen a plane that sits on the runway indefinitely, and they will be holding up space. They will call the people to come and tow the plane. They'd be like, "Honey, you must have broke down on this runway because by now you need to be taken to the air." So that's the thing about having that attitude of gratitude. I mean, at some point you do take off, I mean, but you have to have patience and know that whatever you're going through, like you said, Caroline, is to help you to grow, to build you, and to strengthen you. But you will get through it. So I know this wasn't like a very, very long show, but I would like to take the time out to thank each and every one of you, both of you, shall I say, for coming on to tonight and sharing your experience of how having that attitude of gratitude in the midst of a storm. Can you believe that? In the midst of a storm,
Oh,
because
yeah.
there is a scripture that says, in all things give thanks. And if you can give thanks in the middle of a storm, who are you trusting? Because normally when the storm come, you like, trust. Look, I need to get some shelter. Look, we'll talk about trust after I get an umbrella.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that about trust and in the storm. My mama used to always say, the storm don't last always.
That's
And
true.
and at one point, the first time she said it, it didn't make sense. But going through my life, I share that a lot with everybody. I'll tell you in a heartbeat. The storm don't last always, and it don't. It when it comes, it may not feel comfortable when it's there, but when it's over with, that's when you look up and you could see the sun, and everything is looking fair and calm and beautiful the way you
Sure.
anticipate it to be. And that's
I
one thing I always try, always make it my a part of me or my business to, if anyone that I meet, or if they're saying they're struggling with anything, I always, one of my favorite sayings, and I always let them know, one wise person, and that's my mama, always said, the storm don't last always.
I know that's right. And on that note, just like the storm don't last always, this show don't last always either, but it do come back next week. So I just want to take the time to say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. And
Thank
also
you.
before we go, I also want to remind everyone out there, and what do you want to call that? YouTube, Facebook, wherever you may be listening to this. Hey, don't forget the Confidence Igniter Conference coming up on May 10th in Marietta, Georgia. It'll be from 2 to 6. We have some amazing speakers that's going to be there. And I tell you, our theme is bold, ambitious, and resilient. So I hope to see you in the place. Tickets will be going on sale real soon on Eventbrite. So I really hope to see you there. We will be in the Zoom link as well as live. So if you can't come out live, just, hey, hit us in the Zoom space. We still would love to see your face in the place. And with that being said, lady, I hope you have enjoyed this episode tonight as well. And
Thank
thank you once
you.
again. And you all have a good evening until we meet again. You all have a good evening. Thanks for
You
viewing.
too. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Take
You're
care.
welcome. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Good night.
Good night.